Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining in today. If you can hear me and you're in class, let's say hi from you. Let's go to the chat box, say hi, and say hi to us. Let me hear you say hi to me and then where you're joining in from. So, hi, Ademide. I'm joining from Bagada, Lagos, Nigeria, and Abuja. Let's hear from you. Thank you for joining in. Okay, while we wait for you to do that, hello again, once again, and it's okay to say Happy New Year because this is our first webinar of the year, right? Because the webinar series started last year and it ran for about 10 months last year, which was really amazing. And this year we are kicking off in February, starting the webinar series again. So Happy New Year. I hope your year has been interesting. I hope you've been smashing your goals with our, New Year resolutions and all of that. Today we're going to be talking about communication. Yes, speaking boldly. But before we get into all of that, okay, I can see people. Hi, Tolu. Hi, Kende. Hi, Jide. Hi, Ope. Hi, Silas. Our facilitator for today is also here. Hi, Adesua. Thank you for joining in today. Thank you for joining in. So my name is Adenide, and I'll be your host for this webinar. And I'm so excited to be talking about communication today, and not just communication, but also our facilitator that is talking about communication and speaking boldly. And then very soon we'll get into, the webinar, and our facilitator is going to be sharing with us, what we need to know about verbal communication and nonverbal communication, about conflict, and how to speak boldly and articulate our thoughts. But before we get there, if you're new to joining our webinars, if you're new to CrossStyle, who are we? CrossStyle Solutions, a people development and management consulting firm, and we've been in the industry since 2013, and we help business and organization, people and organization rather, achieve peak performance at whatever they do. And our webinar series is one of our initiatives in helping professionals and organizations, right, achieve peak performance. So let's get right into it. Okay, everyone, thank you for being patient. So we're going to kick off now. Like I said earlier, we're going to be talking about communications and how to speak boldly. And we have no other person come talk to us about communications, but Tosin Babasanya Craig. So I found out recently that you used to be in architecture, and I was surprised. Like, wow, how possible? The Tosin that we know online is, the etiquette coach, the manner on the go, and then I'm saying architecture. I was surprised, but it's so amazing to see that, you pivoted from that, walk of life into, communications and leadership, and talking about manners and etiquette. And I've watched some of your videos, and I'm like, okay, we made the right choice having Tosin come speak to us today. So please, everyone in the chat box, let's welcome together. We can use, I think in the chat, we have a clapping emoji. Let's use that to welcome our facilitator for today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tosin Babasanya Craig. Thank you so much. Now you have the floor.
Thank you, beautiful people. Thank you so much for having me. I am blessed to be here, and I know that you are too. Ademide has introduced me, but maybe I should put a little perspective to it in case you're wondering, was it architecture paying her? Or how did she leave architecture to become a speaker? Yes, I studied architecture in school, practiced for about 3 years, and I was doing very well as an architect. However, and I don't like to use the word however because that negates it. And along the way, I got sucked into corporate Lagos, and I've been on this path for about 18 years, leading learning and development for organizations. I'm on the faculty of Lagos Business School as well as I am on the faculty of some other organizations, CrossStyle being one of them, where I am a training consultant. and I am glad to be here. I'm excited about this topic because before now, I didn't find my voice. And honestly, I was a shy girl, and I still am a shy girl. But one thing is that when there's a job to be done, I am out of my shells and I deliver as much as I can. And I know that there may be a few people around here that want to hear this. How do I speak boldly? And you may be thinking, well, I'm very timid, I'm shy, I do not like how to, I do not know how to communicate. Maybe I should attend this. And you're in the right place today because for the next 40 minutes or so, or maybe 1 hour, including our Q&As, we will be speaking about how to speak boldly, how to communicate effectively. So yes, I've carved a niche for myself as a soft skills facilitator. I teach about communication, about conflict resolution. I teach about etiquette and primarily soft skills in the workplace. So I do not claim to be the embodiment of knowledge here. The truth is that I could also learn from you. So please be ready to also share. And I welcome you again to this webinar. And let me begin with this simple question. Have you ever left a meeting thinking I should have said something? Or perhaps you did speak, and maybe halfway through your sentence, you thought, this is not coming out the way I intended. That experience is far more common than we admit. Many professionals are not lacking intelligence. They're not lacking ideas. They're not lacking competence. What they are often lacking is structure, confidence, and emotional control in high pressure moments. So, the topic today is speak boldly. And we're not talking about being loud because you might think it's about being loud, about being aggressive. We're not talking about being confrontational. We're not talking about dominating conversations. We're talking about communicating clearly, calmly, and with conviction, especially in environments where there is hierarchy, especially in environments where there's pressure. You know, some of us work in high pressure environments, and pulling your thoughts together on your feet might seem a bit of a Herculean task. So that's what we want to talk about today. So you would have a practical structure you can use immediately, especially in meetings and in presentations and in difficult conversations. So please come along with me as we share the session objectives today. Today, we will focus on three things. How do we strengthen our verbal and non-verbal communication? It's you understanding that it is not about what you say, but how you say the things that you say. Because you know what? Africa is a high context environment. We don't only pay attention to what is said, we pay attention to how it is said. For instance, if you're talking to an American, you say, I'm sorry. For them, I'm sorry is I'm sorry, it's in the past. But if you're talking to an African, maybe we should bring it down home and you say, there's a difference between I'm sorry and sorry. And sorry, oh, you know, the context matters. So, how do you structure your ideas? How do you structure your ideas both verbally and non verbally? How do you structure your ideas with clarity and confidence? And how do you handle difficult conversations professionally? Because there's one thing that we must talk about, it is how to handle difficult conversations, how to handle difficult, we call it crucial conversations. So we're going to talk about that today, but I want us to reflect a little bit, okay? Have you ever, or has this ever happened to you, where you had a strong idea but stayed silent? These are rhetorical questions, but I'm going to pause a little for you to let it sink in. Have you ever had a strong idea but stayed silent, spoken, and wish you had structured it better? Maybe you had said something and you thought to yourself, I should have said it this way. You know, that's not the way I should have put it. Or have you been misunderstood despite good intentions? So if you've fallen into any of these, would you please put yes in the comments? I'd like to see you say yes. Absolutely. Yes. So if it's any of these three has ever happened to you, would you please say yes? If you relate to even one of these, you're exactly where you need to be today. Thank you. I see the comments coming, and I see a lot of yes, 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 yes. I am not immune to these as well, especially number two, where you've spoken and then you wished, I'd structured this thing better. So I invite you to please come along with me as I share some tips, relatable tips, tips that you can remember every now and then to help you structure your thoughts better. Are we ready? If you're good to go, you could put good to go in the comments or GTG, good to go. Thank you. Exactly. Thank you so much for that. Yes, let's go. Let's go quickly, people. So, what does it mean to communicate boldly? And I'm going to begin with this quote by Tim Ferriss. It said that a person's success in life can usually be measured by the number of uncomfortable conversations he or she is willing to have. I'm going to say that again. A person's success in life can usually be measured by the number of uncomfortable conversations he or she is willing to have. Now, this quote is to shift your mindset towards courage. Because you know what? In corporate organizations or corporate environments, avoidance feels safer. It's safe. Let's just avoid it. Let's just manage around it. Let's just tiptoe around it. Let's just walk on eggshells around it. It feels safe, but growth lives in discomfort. So your growth will be measured by the number of uncomfortable conversations you are willing to have. So what does it mean to speak boldly? Let's define it properly. Speaking boldly is definitely not aggression. That your voice is a notch higher or a notch louder does not mean that you're speaking boldly. Speaking boldly is certainly not overconfidence, like I speak very well, so you've got to listen to me. That's not what speaking boldly is. It is not talking over people. It is not giving people a piece of your mind. You know what? One day you would have nothing left because you've given everyone a piece of your mind. That is really not what speaking boldly is. It is not about you speaking just the way it comes to you, like I will give you a piece of my mind. I don't mince words. That is not what speaking boldly is. So, what then is speaking boldly? It is clarity, that the clarity in your thought is translated to the clarity in your words. It is composure, it is structure, it is respect. You know what? Bold communication maintains dignity, your dignity and other people's dignity. This is what speaking boldly is: clarity, composure, structure, and respect. So if you've ever thought that if my voice is louder or loudest than the other in the room, or if my voice is louder than the second party, then I'm the bolder one. It is not overconfidence. It's not talking over people. It's not giving people a piece of your mind. It is just simply respect, with a healthy dose of clarity and composure and structure. Let's move on quickly, people. So communicating boldly means that you can articulate your thoughts with precision and deliver difficult messages with calm confidence. Remember this, people, that it is not about being loud, it is about being clear. So it's not the volume of your voice, it's the clarity in your thoughts that you're bringing out verbally. But I want to share a few things with you. Why do professionals hold back from speaking boldly? And there are 4 common barriers that I would like to share with you. The first one is that hierarchy sensitivity. This person is an elder. This person is this person. So we're raised to respect authority. Around here, we were even told growing up that you don't look in the eyes of elders when they're talking to you. You look down. And unfortunately, some of us have grown up to be adults that can't maintain eye contact with people. because we're raised to respect authority. Is it bad to respect authority? Absolutely not. It is good to respect authority, but our voices must not be muffled. You must be able to speak. And when I'm talking about authority, I'm not talking about our government. I'm talking about that your line supervisor at work. I'm talking about the people that you work with that might be more experienced than you. We're raised to respect authority. We're careful not to talk back. We're mindful of tone when speaking to seniors because truly respect is cultural and that is valuable. But silence, my brothers and sisters, is optional. You can be respectful and still be able to contribute meaningfully. And that's where we're going today, because the reason why some of us have not been able to speak boldly is because of hierarchy. A, this person is my elder, or this is my older brother. Whatever it says is key. How then can we communicate boldly when we're stuck in this hierarchy sensitivity? So today we're going to look at how to communicate respectfully and yet have our voices heard. Okay? Let me check the chat room again for a bit and see if there's anything coming in. All right. So good to go is what I hear from everyone. Thank you so much. So let's move on to the second barrier that is holding us back from speaking boldly. And it is called fear of judgment. You know, many professionals think, what if I sound foolish? What if they know more than I do? What if I am wrong? You know, I'm sure that that may have happened to some of us before. I better keep quiet, you know, because the Bible even says that if you have nothing to say, I'm not even sure about that. So maybe I'm paraphrasing it. Then it's better for you to be silent. And truly, it's better for you to be quiet when you're not sure about what to say. But this topic today is helping you to even know that you can say things without the fear of sounding foolish. Because guess what? Confidence is not the absence of fear, it is clarity despite fear. That's what confidence is. So, yes, sometimes we'll be fearful, but do you have clarity? That is what we should be working on. So, many of us hold back from speaking because we fear being judged. It's better for me to keep quiet, for them to say that I don't know anything. But guess what? Even senior executives rehearse before major presentations. You know that? I may have been presenting for 18 years plus, but there is no presentation that I do not take time to prepare for because you always want to be clear. So the second reason why we hold back from speaking boldly, brothers and sisters, is that we fear judgment. But guess what? We would be judged anyway. So it's better for us to be judged in the path of good. Now, there is also a practical issue. Let's go to the third one. And it is what I call lack of structure. And this is the biggest operational issue for us. Many people begin speaking before they know their points. Can I say that again? Many of us begin to speak before we know our points. And because we lack structure, we don't sound well, we don't sound confident, we don't sound sure. I'll give you a few examples as we go on. Another reason or another way that our communication lacks structure is that we think while talking. We don't take time to pause and put our thoughts together. And you know, there's no problem with pausing. Absolutely no problem. If someone asks you a question, in fact, it is more charismatic of you to take a pause for a moment, just to gather your thoughts together, and then you answer. But some of us think while talking. And so because of that, whatever we're saying don't come out as structured as possible. I'll give you a formula very soon to help you. And then another thing that we do that makes us lack structure in communication is that we over explain. And I see this happen a lot. In fact, I've been there before where you think that you need to over explain things before people understand it. But please give people some credit. You don't have to over explain. Another thing that we do is that we drift. You know, we drift. We've started talking about A, and somehow Instead of you to follow the process, A, B, C, D, you've jumped to E. We drift. And because of that, our communication comes out as lacking structure. Something happens at this moment when your communication lacks structure. Authority drops. Your authority drops. Your knowledge base of whatever you're talking about drops when you do not structure your communication. Let's look at this example. And I know that some of us speak like that, a large number of us, because I've been there myself. So listen to me. Well, I was just thinking that maybe the timeline might be a bit too tight because how these things are going. And last time we had some delays with procurement, and I'm not sure if we've considered the dependencies. And I just feel like maybe we should look at it again. Does that sound familiar? If it sounds familiar to you, please put a thumbs up, because have I made any points, really? Or what points do you think I'm trying to make? You could also raise your hand to answer questions. This is a learning opportunity for us. I'm not going to be the only one speaking. Is that fine? So please, you could raise your hand. What do you think I'm trying to communicate here? Okay, maybe we should just do this because I just think that maybe we should look at it again. What am I trying to communicate here? I'm hesitating in my words. I'm giving the background before the message. There is no defined impact. When I talk like this, my authority drops. Then you hear people say, come again. What were you trying to say? Is there something going on? Can you re-say it? Or then you hear a lot of pardon, pardon, pardon. Did you notice how long it took to understand the actual concern I was trying to communicate? That is what happens when we lack structure in our communication. So the formula I'm going to give you today, and I'm still going to talk more about it when I talk about the process of speaking boldly, is what I call the PRI, point, reason, impact. Point, reason, impact. So look at what I was trying to communicate the other time that I rambled a lot. I'm concerned the current timeline may be too tight. That's the point that I'm trying to make. Because there were two procurement details, or because there are two procurement dependencies that are still unresolved, that is the reason. And proceeding without them may delay further execution. That is impact. Can I say it again? Point, reason, impact. You see, that rambling I was trying to say the other time was that because there are dependencies, procurement dependencies that we have not attended to, I'm concerned about the timeline that we're giving to this project. That's what I was trying to communicate then. But structure your points this way, people. Point, reason, impact. The point I'm trying to make is that I'm concerned that the current timeline may be too tight. That's my point. The reason is that there are still two unresolved procurement dependencies. That's the reason. What's the impact? If we continue to do this, there will be further delays. So please, your communication henceforth must be structured. Let's move on quickly to the fourth reason why we hold back from speaking boldly, and I call it emotional reactivity, especially when you're having a disagreement with someone. When your blood is hot, do you know the way you communicate? You don't communicate clearly. You don't speak boldly. Remember that I said boldly does not mean aggression, does not mean the loudness in your voice. That's not what we're talking about. Okay? So there is emotional reactivity, especially during public corrections. When you're corrected publicly, and I say that you're looking at the images on the screen as well. These are two people that have been corrected publicly. Can you see the reaction? Okay. When there are disagreements, when there is an interruption, maybe you're speaking and someone rudely interrupts you and then it breaks you, there's that emotional reactivity, your blood is hot. And then when you have this dismissive response, I noticed that I gave, whilst preparing my slides, Something happened between my daughter and I, and she asked the question while I was so busy. And you know, the way I just dismissed, and you can see that I'm busy. And immediately I thought to myself, I probably was on this slide, that was a dismissive response. It doesn't allow me to speak boldly. I could have just dropped it for a moment and said, can I help you, dear? What do you want from me? Okay, you know, something like that. Then I'm speaking boldly, then I'm speaking confidently. When emotion rises, your clarity fails. So how do we fix these four things I've spoken about? Number one, I said that we don't speak boldly because of the hierarchy sensitivity. There are some people that we can't talk to, so let's just keep quiet and walk on eggshells around them. And then we talked about lack of structure, right? That's number three. We talked about fear of judgment. They're going to judge me. So let me just keep quiet so that I don't sound silly. Then the lack of structure. And then we talked finally about emotional reactivity. How do we fix these people? It is by this clear model to speaking boldly, where my C is for clarify, my L is for leading with presence. And I'm excited about talking about presence. Executive presence is what I call it. In the way that you carry yourself in your speech, you can lead with presence. E is engage, A is assert, and R is regulate. The clear model to speaking boldly. And I hope that you're taking some notes, people, because I've made it easy to say. So, thank you. Abiola says, when you're not sure of what is being communicated as well, that can hold you for speaking boldly because you're not even aware. The knowledge base for what's being communicated is not there. So how do you want to respond? How do you want to speak boldly? Thank you so much for that contribution, Abiola. So let's use the clear model to speaking boldly. And I say the first one is clarify. So let's talk about clarify, people. How do you clarify your message? And this is where I'm going to talk more about the point, reason, and impact. So before you speak, ask yourself, what is the main point I'm trying to communicate here? Can I say that again? For your communication, your verbal communication to be effective, you've got to pause for a moment and ask, what is my main point? What am I trying to communicate here? Not the background, not the story, not the context. What is the main point? And begin with the main point. So use the point, main point, the reason why you want to talk about it, and the impact. Oh, if we do this, this is what would happen. Don't ramble. We've got to stop rambling when we're communicating. Can I say that again? Stop rambling when you're communicating. Go straight to the point as much as possible. Okay? For example, let's look at this. I recommend we delay the product launch. That is my point. Because the compliance review is incomplete. That is my reason. And releasing now may expose us to regulatory risks. That is the impact. Didn't I communicate well now? Point, reason, impact. Short, structured, powerful. Clarity creates authority. And remember that I'm talking to people that have executive presence or people that want to begin to have executive presence, because that's really the niche that I'm most excited about. How do you communicate like an executive? Point, reason, impact. Don't start from I just think we should look at this all over again, because if we will be exposed to regulatory risk if we decide to launch this product now. So let us delay this product. That is you rambling. It is more clear. It is more powerful. You are more in charge when you start with the points and then you talk about the reason and then you talk about the impact. There'll be a Q&A session after now. So if there's anything you need me to clarify, please take note of it. We move on to the next one because our time is quite short. And the next one is lead with presence. Lead with presence. See, before you speak, we see you. In fact, a psychologist in America called Albert Mehrabian said that when you're communicating emotions, 55% of the influence is on your body language. Your posture, your dressing, your pace, your eye contact, your tone. Have you ever listened more to someone that dressed very well? Has it happened to you before? Because it's happened to me before, where this person looks like it, so I better listen to this person. Let me tell you a story quickly. So way back in school, in my final year, a motivational speaker came to school to speak with us, and I was going to come because, I mean, there was a pre and there was a during. Before this man came, I was one of the people that went around to say this man was coming. I was so excited about it. We're bringing someone from Lagos to my village in Ogbomoso, where I schooled. If anybody schooled in Lautech here, please pardon me, I'm not calling Ogbomoso a village. So we were excited about it, really. But on the day this man came, he was wearing something really tight for whatever reason. And his crouch area, I know you know what I mean by crouch area, was so tight that it was distracting that anytime he moved around the stage, he would pull up, he would adjust. And I discovered that almost throughout the 1 hour plus, I had to always refocus. Like I would tell myself, Tosin, focus, because it was so distracting, you know. And despite the fact that I went to that meeting with my church mind, what he wore was so loud, I did not hear him. So one way that you want to communicate boldly is also to watch your non-verbal communication. So pay attention to your dressing, pay attention to your posture, pay attention to the pace of your voice, pay attention to eye contact. Brothers and sisters, you see, it's a lie from the pit of hell when they tell you that when you're looking and you're shy or you're anxious about speaking to a public or to an audience, look above their heads. Please do not listen to them. Because when you look above people's heads, you're not connecting with them. So please maintain eye contact with people. In my early days, what I would do, because I'm also quite shy, is that I would pick my fans in an audience. There's no way you get to an audience, even if it's an audience of 7 people, that you won't find at least one person whose countenance is gracious, who is smiling, who is there rooting for you. Those are the people you should first maintain eye contact with until you get comfortable to maintain eye contact with everyone. But please, eye contact makes your words sink better. Okay? So let me put it in context. If you rush your words, what you signal is nervousness. If you avoid eye contact, you signal uncertainty. If you trail off at the end of sentences, what you do is you weaken your authority. Can I say that again? If you rush your words when you're speaking, you're signaling nervousness. If you avoid eye contact, what you signal is uncertainty. As a matter of fact, eye contact professionals or eye contacts, should I call them professionals now, experts, say that when you avoid eye contact, it could mean that you are lying about something. It could mean that you are unsure about something. So you don't want to be taken as someone lacking authority. So please do not avoid eye contact when you're speaking. And then if you trail off at the end of your sentence, you're saying something, you start powerfully, and then you just end it like a weakling, very weak. What you've done is that you've weakened your authority. So please pay attention to this. Slow down slightly when you're speaking. Finish your sentences fully. And those pauses that you have when you're speaking, they're not awkward. It's powerful. When you're speaking, you can pause a little. Don't rush through your words. Don't ramble. These are the non-verbal communication that will let us know that you're leading with presence and you're indeed speaking boldly. Let me take a moment to check the chat room again. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, I can see that there's some form of summary going on. Thank you. So yes, we started with the CLARE model, right? Who remembers the first one, the C? What's the C standing for? Who knows it? Do you want to put it in the chat room, or you could just unmute yourself and say it? C for what? Thank you. Clarify. And what did we say about
Clarify your
clarifying?
message.
Thank you, Ambrose. Clarify your message. Start with the main point, and then the reason, and then the impact. And the L is lead with presence. Now we go to the E, engage with your audience. Engage through listening. Communication is not performance, people. It is exchange. It is not who can speak better grammar. It is exchange. So strong communicators listen strategically. They don't interrupt people while they're speaking. They don't summarize before responding, or they summarize rather before responding. They clarify instead of assuming. For you to be able to communicate effectively and speak boldly, you've got to engage through listening. Otherwise, when someone is talking to you, because you are thinking through what they're saying and you're not listening to them, sometimes people are talking to us, especially for those of us that speak a lot. People are asking questions, and instead of you to listen, you're already thinking of an answer in your mind. By the time you land with the answer, it may not correlate with the question. And that's why people will say, no, that's not what I was trying to ask. Let me clarify it. It's because you did not clarify. Instead, you assumed. It's because you did not take your time to listen well. So, you can say things like, so if I understand you correctly, or can you clarify what you mean by that? These are the ways that we'll know that you're listening. And then they see those nonverbal cues like nodding your head, like just summarizing at the end of each statement. Oh, so if I understand you correctly, this is what you're trying to say. Or can you clarify that? Stop assuming. Stop assuming. Listening, brothers and sisters, would increase your influence. Listening signals that you're mature. So please engage through listening. Once you can listen well, you're going to be sure that whatever will come out of your mouth is clear. Okay? Whatever will come up out of your mouth is structured. Remember, we talked about lack of structure a moment ago. Okay? So please listen. Engage through listening. Now, we've talked about clarifying. We've talked about leading with presence. Now we've talked about engage through listening or engaging through listening. The A is assert respectfully. Assert respectfully. Now, you must have heard about asserting before, or when we say you're assertive. And that's the middle point between being aggressive and being passive. So passive communication avoids. Let's clarify that. Passive communication avoids. Aggressive communication attacks. Assertive communication is clear and respectful. Let me give this example, and you hear that in my voice. Please, I'm begging you, make sure that file is on my table at 12 tomorrow. I don't want trouble. Number one. Number two, I will appreciate if that file is on my table at 12 tomorrow. Number three, if you do not put that file on my table by 12 tomorrow, heads will roll in this office. Which one is the assertive communication? What it does is that assertiveness protects both your dignity and clarity. Okay? So the passive one is, please, I'm begging, just make sure that file is on my table too. I don't want trouble. That is passive communication. People will not take you seriously. If that's the way you talk to your colleagues, they won't take you seriously, because what you're doing is, I'm just walking on eggshells. Oh, I don't want trouble in this office. And we're not communicating. Aggressive is the one where your tone is loud. You're saying it while rolling your eyes. You're giving threats and throwing it around. You don't get much because people may do your bidding, but guess what? They don't do it well. Let's just do it to please him or her. They won't tell you the truth. They won't do the work well. She wants the file on her table by 12. I beg, let me put the file on her table. Okay? I hope I'm communicating well. I'm just assuming that majority of us are Nigerians. So pardon my pardon my use of "oh," and I'm just trying to bring it home. Okay? So assertiveness protects both dignity and clarity. Instead of saying, you're always interrupting me, what is it? You could say something like, I'd like to complete that point. It would only take 20 seconds. That is assertiveness. That is you being confident. And that is you finding your voice and speaking about what you have in your mind as respectful as possible. I remember my father would say that passive communication is you not respecting yourself, but giving all the respect to every other person. Aggressive communication is according all the respect to yourself and not regarding other people. Then you're aggressive. That's it's all about me. It's my way or the highway. But assertive communication is respecting yourself and respecting other people. It comes in that firmness in your voice. You're not losing respect. Okay, so instead of saying, let me give that example again so that you can hear me well. You're always interrupting me. What is it? What's the problem? That is aggressive. I'll say, I'd like to complete that point if you don't mind, or it will take only 20 seconds. That is assertive. That is firm. That is authority speaking. Okay, firm, calm, controlled. This, my brothers and sisters, is bold communication. Now let's look at the R. R is regulate before responding. Remember that we said that one of the four things that are holding us back from communicating boldly is emotional regulation, when you're not able to regulate your emotions. So we're saying that for you to speak boldly, regulate before responding. And what are we saying here? This is where professionalism is tested, ladies and gentlemen, in high pressure moments, and you know that our work around here can be high pressure. You're thinking on your feet, you're making decisions on your feet, you're multitasking most of the time. What you should do is to pause and breathe and respond. If someone corrects you publicly, don't rush to defend. And no, sir, that's not what I was trying. That's not correct. It's not true. That's a lie, sir. They're just trying to find a way to dump it. No. When someone corrects you publicly, pause, breathe, then respond. Thank you for the clarification. Let me address that, sir. That is how to speak boldly. When you regulate first, what happens to you? You respond intelligently, not emotionally. We've got to come to that point. And these things that I'm talking to you about, I won't tell you that I'm already a master here. These are things that I'm unlearning and relearning every day, where I do not have to jump to defend myself, where I pause for a moment and say, oh, thank you, sir. Oh, thank you for noticing that. I had a professional conversation yesterday, and I was so proud about the way that I said the things that I said, where I had to say that, oh, I'm not sure that we're putting our eggs in the right basket here. The way I spoke about it with authority, I knew that I'd grown. Because when I see red light or I see a red flag, I'm always quick to communicate it, but I've come to that point where you've got to pause, you've got to breathe before you respond. Let's learn to regulate ourselves, because when we regulate ourselves, then we're responding intelligently. I'll take a moment to check the chat room. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, I have someone in the room. My father is in the room. Thank you, Daddy. Okay, so that's my biggest fan, and I needed to mention that. So, pardon me that we're in a professional setting, but I have to give honor to whom honor is due. So, let's go on quickly. How do you handle difficult conversations? Remember that we said that one of the reasons or one of the things holding us back in the beginning is that hierarchy sensitivity. And of course, we would disagree with our seniors sometimes. Sometimes we would disagree with our colleagues. How do you do it? Because difficult conversations are inevitable. I say that again, difficult conversations are inevitable. But there are three principles. Number one, please address the behavior, not the personality. It's nothing personal, it's just business. So, a lot of the time, when you need to correct people, it's not their person, it is the behavior. And when people are correcting you in a wrong way, or maybe they're saying something that you didn't particularly do, or when they're talking to you in a way that is not particularly sitting well with you, it's the behavior, not the person. You don't need to send them back home. You know, in Yoruba, and this is direct translation, you want to send them back home to receive home training. No, it's not that person. It's the behavior that you should address. And then please choose timing wisely. It's not every time that is good for giving feedback. It's not every time that is good for holding difficult conversations. We've got to come to that point where we're wise to choose the time wisely. And please maintain a steady tone, because if you don't watch your tone, then it would, that's where you talk and someone will say, why are you giving me attitude? And you're like, what did I say? It's because of the tone. So watch the tone. And of course, like I said previously, pause, breathe, then respond. Because you know what? Discomfort would always test professionalism. So, how do you disagree with a senior, for instance? The first thing you should do is acknowledge, okay? And then give an alternative, and then give the reason. Can I say that again? Acknowledge. I'll give an example that you can relate with in a bit. Acknowledge, give an alternative, and then give a reason. So here's something like this. Ma, I understand the direction that you are proposing. May I suggest an alternative approach based on the data we reviewed? Notice the tone. It's not defensive. It's not, sir, or ma, I don't agree with that at all. The data speaks for itself. It's right here in front of us. So we need to look at what the data is saying. Some of us actually speak like that with our seniors. But you know what? Africa, and I'm assuming that maybe there are non-Nigerians in the room. Africa is a high context environment. It is not what we say particularly, it's how we say the things that we say. So with a senior colleague, please acknowledge whatever they're saying. Oh, I understand where you're going with this. I understand what you're proposing with this. But may I suggest something? In fact, I tell people when they're communicating or when they're giving feedback that you should avoid negative words like however or but, because however or but negates whatever you said at the beginning. So omit that conjunction. So you can say, oh, sir, I understand that's what you're proposing. I understand the angle you're taking this. And I'd like to suggest that maybe we should look at it this way. Did you see me? Did you hear me? I didn't use but, I didn't use however, because if I use but or however, it already negates that I understand the direction. Or I should even omit a conjunction altogether and just say something like, I understand the direction you are proposing, sir. May I suggest an alternative approach to this based on the data we reviewed? Did you hear that? That's how to handle that difficult conversation with a senior. Of course, don't be defensive. You don't need to be apologetic. Can I say this quickly in case I never get to it? Many of us have conversations or hold our conversations starting with an apology. Um, I'm going to release a video very soon talking about those things that weaken our conversations. I know Ademide talked about a YouTube channel at the beginning, but I know that in one of these days, I'm going to be releasing a video about what waters down our communication. One of the points that I'm making in that video is that you should not start your sentences with an apology. Sorry, may I say this? I apologize. For what? What did you cause any problem? So stop apologizing for things that you did not cause. Confidence plus respect would always come to you being an influential person. So please be confident, be respectful. How do you give feedback to your peers? Be specific. Say something like, in yesterday's meeting, when the data wasn't shared ahead of time, it made preparations very difficult. You don't need to say something like, I'm sorry, oh, don't be angry about this thing I'm about to say. But because you didn't bring that data on time or you didn't share it on time, we weren't able to prepare for this meeting. Mm-mm. Focus on behavior, not character. That's how to give feedback. That's how to hold difficult conversations, people. So the three principles, again, just before we move on: address behavior, not personality; choose timing wisely; maintain a steady tone. Don't raise your voice because now you negate whatever you're trying to communicate. Let's practice this mentally, okay? You believe a proposed timeline is unrealistic, but everyone seems eager to proceed. How would you respond using points, reason, and impact? So this is me keeping quiet for a moment and asking you to please answer because I've made a lot of points. We talked about those 4 points holding you back or 4 things holding you back. And then we talked about the clear model for speaking boldly. So let's apply this. Let's apply the point, reason, impact that model that we talked about, we spoke about earlier. Is anybody willing to do this? Is anybody willing to do this, people? Anybody willing? We will try this. You could raise your hand to speak, or you could put it in the comments. So you believe a proposed timeline is unrealistic, but everyone seems eager to proceed. So you're a part of a team, and you believe, and they say that we must churn this out in 2 weeks, and you believe that this is unrealistic, but everyone on the team is eager to proceed with it. How would you respond using the point, reason, and impact model? Who's going to try that? Who wants to try it? Anybody? Thank you, Victor. Thank you, Victor. Please go on.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Victor. We can hear you.
Okay. I believe that launching the app in March is not realistic because we need to properly test within our organization before launching.
Okay. What's the impact?
Okay, the impact. I didn't get that part.
So what would happen if we either don't launch or if we launch?
Yeah, so if it comes out earlier without testing, we might not notice the inadequacies. So we need to test on time before we launch.
Thank you so much, Victor. That was a good trial. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, I like the points that you made. I like the reason. I like the impact. And I like that you were able to sew everything together. Is anybody trying again? Is anybody trying? Point, reason, impact? Anyone? Okay, let me check the room immediately. Favor says, I'm optimistic about this project, but the timeline is unrealistic because the end result will not come as expected. Concise, beautiful. I'm optimistic about this project. But that is optimism. That's not the point you're trying to make, okay? But as concise and as beautiful as this is, we could change that point a little bit. Because when you start with that optimism, they would come back and say, well, you say you're optimistic about it. Do you understand? Or you've got optimism towards this, okay? So that's the only thing I would correct. I would rather say that I am concerned about this timeline. That is my point. Okay, and then let me marry it with what Favor said. Because the time is unrealistic, the end result will not come as expected. That's the impact. Okay, so I'm concerned, instead of I'm optimistic, I'll say I'm concerned about the current timeline. I think it's ambitious. I'm concerned that the current timeline may be too ambitious because, and then I'll give the impact. The end result will not come as expected. Structured, professional, balanced. Thank you to you, Victor and Favor, for answering this question promptly. Okay, there's one more. Thank you, Favor. Thank you. But great one, Victor. Great one, Favor. Ademide, do you have a gift for the people that answered my questions, please? I'm putting you on the spot right now. Koforola, did you want to try?
No, I'm just, I mean, you're really putting me on the spot, but yes, we have a gift for the people that have
Thank
responded.
you. Thank you so much. And again, I apologize that I put you on the spot. So let's tie this all together, people. Speaking boldly is not about the volume. It is about disciplined clarity. So clarity precedes confidence. If you want to be a confident person, a confident speaker, an effective communicator, always be clear. Always be clear. Okay? And then structure strengthens your authority. So structure your conversations. Remember that we said that what's holding us back from speaking boldly is lack of structure. So use the point, reason, impact model to structure your conversation. And then please, emotional control sustains respect. It doesn't weaken you. The fact that you're able to pause and breathe before respond makes you a person of authority. Let's not be petty. Let's not be quick to react. Just take a moment. Take a moment. It's not something that you could correct in one day, but please, that's why you're in this learning situation right now. That is why you're here, so that going forward, you begin to learn how to control before you respond. It makes you a person of authority. In many workplaces, ladies and gentlemen, competence is assumed. Communication determines whether it is recognized. Executive presence determines whether it is recognized. So competence that's the basis. If you have a job, we expect you to perform. We expect you to be competent at it. What makes you noticeable will now be your image and your exposure. Okay? Image will come down to how you carry yourself, will come down to how you dress, will come down to how you speak. Your voice is not the loudest in the room. You are that person that when you're in a meeting, you are not the loudest person. You're putting the spotlight on other people, such that the meeting doesn't close until they say, oh, Favor, what do you think about this? Would like to hear you speak. Not because you've been shy or you've been quiet and they're forcing you to speak, but because they know that you internalize things, and whenever you open your mouth, you're opening it to say something reasonable, something tangible. I'm not saying begin to keep quiet in your meetings. Please don't get me wrong. Because another part of me would say that always speak out, because that's how you know what you're made up of. So preparation is what I'm talking about. Prepare ahead of your meeting so that you have something to say, something to add to the conversation. So remember this, that competence is assumed, but communication determines whether it is recognized. Executive presence determines whether it is recognized. Your image determines whether your competence is recognized. So speaking boldly is not about the volume, it's about the structure, it's about clarity, it's about emotional control. Thank you very much. I think I may have overshot my time a little bit. I apologize. But I wish we could practice this, right? Ademide, do we have a little time to do this? In 90 seconds, speak to us about any topic you're passionate about. Maybe this is a time for you to sell what you do. Who is there? Maybe I can give the opportunity to one person, one bold person,
Yes,
one bold
I think
person.
we can have one bold person.
Thank you so much. So let's go on. But let me see this. Sarah says, make sure you take time to rest this weekend to recharge for the training so that you will not sleep during the training. Okay. Sarah, were you trying to speak to someone? I know I have series of training next week, so I hope Sarah is not speaking to me. Michael says, I'll gently point out that the timeline seems a bit tight, as project like this often takes longer than expected. Fantastic. So make the points and then give your reason and the impact if they follow your reason or they don't follow your reason, or they follow your point or they don't follow your point. So one person that would, thank you. Thank you. Sarah says just practice. Thank you. Okay, so one person that is glad to tell us in 60 to 90 seconds about any topic that you're passionate about. Is there one person in the room? Anybody in the room? Or maybe you're taking time to look at it. So maybe I should say this quickly. There's something called elevator pitch. You must have heard that before. But the concept is from, if you're on the elevator, you get on an elevator and you find someone that can change your life. someone that can buy into your business or your product. What do you say in those 45 to 60 seconds that will make them buy into your product or buy into your service or buy into you? That's where that phrase elevator pitch comes from. So I want to advise us people that sometimes we'll be put on the spot like this. Imagine if there's someone here that can buy that product that you're so excited about, and you have that spot and you're not taking it. So everyone, the assignment I'm giving you today is that make sure that you have your elevator pitch stored somewhere here, so that when you have the opportunity to talk about you or talk about something you're passionate about, you are there to speak. Are we good? All right. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be glad to take your questions now before I leave the room for Ademide of Cross Tie Solutions. And I should have said this in the beginning. Thank you, Cross Tie, for this opportunity. I'm optimistic that you gained something great from here. I'm optimistic that everyone in this room that spent the last 1 hour listening to me got something impactful. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the prayers. Thank you so much. I understand my mom is in the room as well. Thank you, Mommy. Thank you, Daddy and Mommy, for taking your time, but both retirees. So what they're doing now is rooting for us, the children. Thank you. God bless you for taking out time from your the busy people, despite the fact that they're retirees, from taking time to. Thank you so much, Daddy. People will bring our family values here. Thank you, sir. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Michael. I see you. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you so much, everyone. Over to you, Ademide.
Thank you so much, Tosin. Thank you. I was
You're
so
welcome.
glad that you took your time to explain this. It was so clear and practical from
Thank
the
you.
models, the clear model. And I think there's one thing I'm taking out of your session is to take pauses. Yes. Many of us, or let me speak for myself right now, is that I tend to just think and talk and not take pauses. Because sometimes you feel like, oh, I feel like taking pause just feel like you don't know what you're saying, or I don't have what I'm saying. But taking pause to continue, like you have just explained, is absolutely okay and is welcome. So I think that's one thing that has stuck to me since the beginning of this conversation. And I also love the fact that you started the conversation explaining that speaking boldly is not aggressive. I'm so glad that because I've seen people say that, because they have to speak boldly, they go on the top of their voice, they use big grammars, they just want to step on people and then just communicate, have their words out. And I really love the fact that you mentioned that that is absolutely not, speaking boldly. Still, thank you so much for taking your time to show up here today and take us on this journey. And for
Thank
everyone
you.
that has joined, participants, I see that you're the real MVP. Thank you for being engaging. Yes, thank you for being engaging. It's been a wonderful session. But before you go, right, and then I know that we still have question and answer today. So put your question in the chat box, or maybe when it's time for question and answer, you could raise your hand and they will allow you to speak to ask your question. But I also like you to know that we have a certificate for everyone that joins our webinar, but you have to fill the feedback form. So when you fill your feedback form, it will lead you to the certificate, right? You get the message and then you can now download your certificate. We also have a knowledge hub where every week bring people together from different professional, different walks, different career, different level as well. And then we have conversations, we have you can always drop your questions, you can send in, knowledge, or should I say growth materials for people. We also do that as well. So it's a community for people that are interested in growing professionally. Yes, so we'll also be dropping the link to the knowledge of in the chat box as well. Also, we have a resource board where you can learn about any topic. You can see it right on the screen here. We have, smart prospecting, we have, influencing, we have, becoming yourself, staying calm, we have about personal development and career growth and all of that. So for everyone that joined the webinar, you have 30% off of your first purchase. But for Favor and Victor that answered the question, you have 50% off. So if you're ready to purchase, just join the Knowledge Hub. My number is there. My name is saved as Ademide. You can reach out to me and then we give you your 50%, discount. And also for everyone that joins the Knowledge Hub, when you want to get any of our resources, just reach out to me so that you get your 30% off for the resource board. Okay, now let's go back to the question and answer. The floor is open. Who wants to go first if you have questions? You want to use the chat box or you want to raise your hand? You can raise your hand and then we allow you to speak and then you ask your question. The time is ticking.
Okay, so I have a question here from Mobolaji. Mobolaji says, thank you for the session, really impactful. What's the third point you mentioned when you want to disagree with a senior colleague? So I said acknowledge is the first one. Maybe we should go there quickly. This is where we talked about handling difficult conversations. So I said acknowledge. That's where you say something like, I understand what you're saying. And then the next one is give an alternative. And that was when I said that you should avoid the conjunctions but or however, and use and or skip a conjunction. So the alternative is, oh, I understand your point of view, sir. I know where you're coming from. I see where you're coming from. And I'd like to propose something that might be slightly different for your consideration. So acknowledge, give an alternative, and give your reason. Oh, that's because the latest data that was released just 2 weeks ago is saying that there is already an increase in the number of people that need our services, something like that. Okay. So did you get that? Did you get that, Mubolaji? So acknowledge, give an alternative, and then say your reason. That's how to disagree with a senior colleague on points.
Okay, she just gave a thumbs up, so I think she got that.
Thank you. And you said, what books would you recommend to also help us communicate effectively going forward? One video, first of all, that I want you to watch today is, let me talk about video first, then we'll go to books, is by Julian Treasure. It's a 9-minute TED Talk on how to speak so people would listen. How to speak so people would listen. It's just a 9-minute video, but it's packed. It talks about the toolboxes in your voice, or the toolbox that is your voice, and the tools that you can use to communicate effectively. Pace, tone, prosody, volume, and so on. And there's a book by Dale Carnegie called How to Influence People. Have I paraphrased it now? How to Influence People. Henry, did I get that? Are you trying to help me, please? How to Influence People, How to Do Something and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. That's another book that was quite helpful to me. Brian Tracy also has some books on communication that we could look at. And then Ademide, there's some resources in cross-type volts that can, thank you so much. Yes, how to win friends and influence people. That was helpful for me. That's Onyekachi Chiku. Thank you so much for helping with that. Yeah, thanks. Okay, so those are the few that are coming to me. I could help you to curate some books that are not coming to me at the moment, but I have a vault as well that could help curate. And if you could reach out to me after then, I'll curate and send some to you, at least 5 books that can help you. There's one on public speaking by, what's his name? Let me help you to curate this, okay? Let me help you to curate this. And then, so thank you so much, Babalaji. I may have answered that question. Thank you. Thank you, Onye Naturuchi. Nice to see you here. Victor says, how do you handle a colleague who always talks down on you every time? Because same response might sound stale. I think the first thing, thank you for that question, Victor. That's a great question to ask. How do you handle a colleague who always talks down on you? That's a toxic place that you need to take yourself out from. Now, you cannot also be passive. Now, I think the reason why it is always is, now I'm speaking from what I would do as a person. It's not the book remedy for this. Might be because you haven't actually put them in their place. Now, let me explain that, because you'll be thinking, TBC said we should not give people a piece of our minds so that one day we won't wake up and find out we don't have minds anymore. But you've got to communicate assertively. I'd appreciate if we don't go that way again. I'd appreciate if you could change your tone when you're speaking with me. Fem, you're not giving fire for fire. And you know, the problem about holding on to this thing is that it's like you're filling up a bottle with something that ferments, with a drink that ferments. And the more you're filling it up and the longer it's staying, it would just be just one day when it would explode. So it's important for you to nip things in the bud from the beginning so that it doesn't get to that place where you feel like you're already sounding like a music box, like you're overflogging this because you said it, that your response might sound stale because you've been saying the same thing that is not giving the outcome that you want. So for this colleague who's always talking down on you, you've got to hold that difficult conversation. Remember, we said that you're attacking the behavior. In fact, let me not use the word attack. You're addressing the behavior, not the person. So when we're going to give that feedback, you want to say something like your point. I do not appreciate, or I'd like to address the way you spoke to me 2 days ago in the staff room. That's the point. The reason I have seen this happen over and over again, and I think that we must talk about it today. And then reason, because if this doesn't stop now, I might need to escalate it, or the impact. Because if this doesn't stop now, I might need to escalate it to HR. You know, you've got to come to that point where you're having a conversation that would seal that bottle, and there won't be any reason to keep piling it up until the bottle breaks. Okay, so that's my advice to you, Victor. The tone is firm, it's assertive. You see that mid-range, you see that deep voice. You're not going to say, this way you've been talking to me, I don't like it, and you've been doing it over and over again, and you're beginning to frustrate me in this office. Guess what? They're going to do it over again because your tone was passive. So just be firm enough when you're correcting this. And then I says, please, I would appreciate if this recording can be shared to our emails. I'm not sure. Cross tie, that is over to you. Thank you. Onyekachi is How to Win Friends and Influence People. That book is by Dale Carnegie. Very, very, very good book. It's helped me to become a person of influence. How do you respond to a boss who talks down on you and feels he or she knows it all? Interesting question. And I think it's still the same principle about how to disagree. How do you sound, bold without sounding rude? Remember that you should always clarify. Okay? Clarify. This is not about the person of my boss. This is about the behavior of talking down with me. So we're going to still hold this crucial conversation. It could still come into acknowledging, to giving alternative, to giving reason. It's as simple as just saying that, sir, may I have a moment with you? So remember that with your boss, it's not fire for fire. I'll give you a piece of my mind. There's this Yoruba saying that I'm not the one you send back home. I won't bring a response to you. Permit me, they're non-Yoruba, so I won't speak the dialect. But literally, they're just translating it loosely. I'm not the child that you send back home and I won't bring response to you. So you don't even know that there's a line between how you speak with your boss and how you speak with your colleagues, or how to speak with your junior colleagues. With your boss, hierarchy still matters in Nigeria, in Africa. So you don't want to give fire for fire, giving me and I'm giving you. I don't care whose ox is God. I don't care what happens. No, you want to pause, breathe before you respond. So, Sam, may I have a moment with you? Not immediately. Remember, we said that timing is important, right? Choose your timing wisely. May I have a moment with you? Sir, I'd like to speak about what happened a few hours ago at the butchery, blah, 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 blah. And then you talk about it. And so you give your reason, and then the impact. So clarify the issue, give your reason, give the impact. I'll appreciate, sir, if we could I'd appreciate it. That's the way you speak to your boss. If we could just maybe clarify this next time, because this is where I was coming from with this. Just make sure that your tone again is firm, but you say it with respect. If he or she thinks he knows it all, remember the acknowledged alternative reason. The reason why you might feel that you're contending with their know-it-all attitude is because you have not been able to put your own suggestion down with respect. See, for people like this, validate their knowledge and then come with your alternative as respectful as possible. So the feedback is, sir, yeah, I understand this is a great idea that you're proposing. And I think this might work, but please permit me, I used but there. Please permit me to let us look at it from another angle, sir, that might further help your suggestion. Something like that. Just validate, because they're experts in quote. Validate it and give your alternative and give the reason. Okay? And the flip side of it, ladies and gentlemen, is that it is not everyone that bosses can be rude to. So I want to suggest to us that we should also begin to put our best foot forward. Start thinking like an executive. Start operating like an executive. I'm not saying that our wings should become like this in the workplace. Oh, I've gone to Lagos Business School to learn a skill, so I am the boss around here. I know more than you know. There's a way that you respect people in communication, even when you have an alternative idea or when you have a different perspective to things. So don't let your boss feel like you're trying to compete. I've been in an online meeting before where someone corrected his boss while there. And I was like, no, this is bad. So they were making a presentation, and instead of this guy, it was a Zoom meeting, to send a direct message to your boss that, you made a mistake there. He unmuted and said, Sandra made a mistake right there, and let me give you the correct. And I thought to myself, this guy is in trouble when he gets back to work today. There is a tactful way of addressing your boss. So I hope that answers your question, Saudat. Let's go on. There are other questions. How do I control my nerves and the way I sound when communicating? Pause, breathe, respond. Pause, breathe, respond. Now, the best of us still have 1,000 butterflies in our tummies when we have to communicate. So don't think that it's exclusive to you. In fact, I read about a former American president that had a big case of glossophobia. Glossophobia is the fear of public speaking, glossophobia. And this man would always have a pressure ball anytime he's going to have any public address or something. And I read that there was even a particular presidential briefing that he was going to have that he inserted pins in his pressure ball. You know those pressure balls that you pump on when you have nerves. So that's just to tell you that many people that you see on stage have glossophobia. But two things that I will tell you. Number one, speak to yourself. Anytime I go for a presentation, the first place I go when after dropping my bag is the bathroom. Why do I go to the bathroom? I go to affirm myself. oh, Tosin, you can do this. The fact that they're giving you the platform means that you have the authority to use it. So I speak to myself, number one. I breathe. Number two, you see those breathing exercises. Breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, pump out for 4 seconds. It helps you with the nerves. The second thing that you must do is that you must practice. See, when you're very good with something or very good or passionate about a topic, half of the nerves is gone. The reason why we fail sometimes in communicating well is because we're not masters of the thing that we're speaking about. So make sure that you have mastery of what you want to talk about. Then half of the nerves is taken care of. There are a few other simple things. When you have a presentation to make, maybe a presentation that has been scheduled for you, please dress well. Feel very confident. You see that confident dressing solves a part of the problem for you as well. Okay, but that is secondary. Primary is speak to yourself. Glossophobia can be overcome. Speak to yourself, number one. Number two, make sure that you have great mastery of what you're talking about. And then you went further to say that whenever I want to pass my opinions, I notice that I always sound like someone that wants to cry or something. And from there, I lose my confidence. I feel you, Kendi. I've been there. I have been there. Okay, so I know that when nerves get over you and your voice starts shaking, I've been there. That's glossophobia and it can be overcome. So, first of all, please know the thing that you want to talk about. Even if you are put on the spot, we call it what's that word? Extemporaneous. Did I get it? But that's when you have to give an impromptu thing, something that you did in extemporaneous. Yes. So when you want to give that speech, you didn't prepare for it, but they put you on the spot to say something. Please pause, breathe, and then talk. That will help you a great deal. Okay, so I feel you're not alone, but this can be overcome. Adesua says, when speaking and we don't know the right words to describe or buttress a point midway through conversations, how do you navigate this or overcome it? See, your speech is weakened when you don't land well. So you see, our pen and paper is super important. So name the points that you want to speak about. Okay? Name the points that you want to speak about so that you can string them together. So if someone is asking you a question or you're in a meeting, please jot down. Okay? So imagine you want to say something and you already have this model in your mind. In your mind. What's that model again? What's the model I taught you again? Reason, impact, main point, reason, impact. So you say main point, this, reason, this, impact, this. Quickly, scribble it. We're taught shorthand in school, but I don't think we do that anymore. In simple words, it could just be main points. So that when you speak, you're speaking from something that you put down. That is super helpful. That is super helpful. And remember again, pause, breathe, and respond. The way I respond to questions as a trainer is when the questions are coming, I keep quiet to listen and let it land. And then you see, I take a few seconds and I say something like, that's a very good question. You see that's a very good question. It's helping me to string my thoughts together. And then if I want them to clarify, just so that I can take more time to put my answers together, I'll say, oh, are you really saying that when you did this, this happened? Just to clarify, to tell them that I listened. And by the time they're done, pause, breathe, and respond. Okay, so the reason why we stop midway is because we didn't actually structure our conversation. We didn't structure it before we started answering it, and then we tail off at the end, and what we've said isn't as powerful as it should be. Toyosi, thank you. The Art of Public Speaking by Dale Carnegie. Thank you so much, Toyosi. That's it. Oh, I have people that are picking my brains today. Thank you so much. So thank you again, everyone. I think I may have answered all the questions. Thank you, Mobolaji. Yes, I would curate that, but we have a few now. The Art of Public Speaking by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Ademide, your hand is raised.
Yes,
There is a
yes, my
question
hand
here
is
though.
raised.
Ademide, should we come back to you? I see there's a question
Yes,
here. How do you respond to
can
a boss that talks down? I think we've answered that. How do you respond to a boss who talks down on you in the open and tries to pacify you in private and sometimes give you gift? Have that conversation in private. Do you understand? They rebuke you in public just so that they can lodge their authority and make you a scapegoat to warn other people that if you try this, like Onye Naturuchi, if you try this, this is what you will face. That's what they're trying to flex in public. Okay. And then in private, now say, sorry about what happened, and maybe give you a gift. It happens. It happens. It's not exclusive to you. What you should do is to hold a crucial conversation with them. We must learn to hold crucial conversations. There's this man that has done a lot of work on having crucial conversations. If someone could just help me to ask Google for his name. It's done a lot of work. I think he's even written a book about how to hold crucial conversations, because this is one thing. Another book that I've read that has helped me, I do not remember the author's name right now. This is me being vulnerable, but the book, I would never forget the title, How to Hug a Porcupine. That's another book, especially when you're working with difficult people, how to hug a porcupine. There are some things there that will tell you how to answer this. Hold crucial conversations. So find the right timing, Oyin Aturuchi. Find right timing when you walk into this boss and say, I'd like to, talk about something. I remember that when you're giving feedback, don't start with, sir, the other time, acknowledge first. Acknowledge, say something nice. And then you go into that feedback. But sir, there is this thing that you did that really hurts me. I've not been able to walk past it. And it's what happened a few days ago. And that's about the second or third time it's happening, where you reprimand me in public. You may not say, don't say that, and then you come in and you pacify me and give me gifts. Don't say that part, because you're making them feel like, okay, so that's a bad behavior. So you want wisdom to direct you, address the behavior, not the person. Because when you now start saying, when you now bring me inside and you pacify me and you give me gifts, you're addressing that person. You're labeling that act. Okay. So talk about it. That's I wish this. I wish you could reprimand me more in private, because when you do it in public, it's toning down my authority. It's watering my authority. And, we'll have that crucial conversation at the right timing with the best tone. Start with acknowledging them. Oh, thank you for the whatever, or something nice they've done to you, or something that they're always contributing, positive things that they're contributing to the team. Okay. Are there any questions? Please, I have a question. In handling the difficult conversations, how can I pause, breathe, and respond that the audience would feel I don't have a valid point? Ambrose Abba. Difficult conversations are held in private. So maybe I should put this in perspective. Maybe you are asked a question in public and you want to pause, breathe, and respond. You can do it. It's just that it is not a 10-minute exercise. This pause, breathe, and respond, it's just a few seconds. So they ask you a question, even if it's a difficult question, maintain eye contact, give a smile. That's a good question, sir. That's you pausing, breathing, and responding. That's a good question, sir. May I clarify something? Are you saying this? You see, all those tactics is for you to put your thoughts together. Okay. And there are questions they ask me even as a trainer that I don't have answers to. So I will clarify. If the summary again is not giving me the question. Thank you, Joseph Grenny. Thank you so much. Crucial Conversations by Joseph Grenny. Thank you, Yana Tiruchi. So back to you, Ambrose. So take time, at that moment to reflect on the question, just clarify it. And like I said, there are times they ask me questions that I don't have answers to immediately, and I don't want to ramble. You don't ramble because it reduces your authority. So what I would do at that moment is clarify. Oh, are you saying that this happened in 1952? They would likely say, yes, it happened. It was even in the papers. And maybe I had no clue about it. I would throw it back to the audience. Is there someone that knew about this in 1952? I'd like to be educated myself. Once I go into any training, I make them know that I'm also coming to learn from you. I may be the authority, but I don't have your experiences. I've not been to the places you've been to. I've not walked in your shoes. So I'd also like to learn from you. It's not like I'm relinquishing the class to them to take over from me, but I'm open to the fact that I may not have answers to all your questions. But of course, the reason you're a master at that thing is so that you have answers to every questions. So there are just a few times that maybe there are questions that are not within my authority or within my knowledge base. I throw it out to someone. There are questions that I even put in the parking lot. I will tell them, I do not have an answer to that immediately, but if you give me a moment, maybe after lunch or something, I'll give an answer to you. And then I go, there's no reason to ramble. Okay. So that's my answer to you, Ambrose, on how to handle difficult questions with pause, breathe, and respond. Difficult conversations are held in private. Let me say that again, not in public view. Okay, I hope I put that in the right perspective for you. Thank you very much. I've answered all the questions. Over to you, Ademide. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tosin. Thank you for taking your time to answer all
You're
the
welcome.
questions. And I
You're welcome.
And I think I'm speaking for everybody if I say that we've enjoyed this a little too much. And that's why people kept asking questions. And we are really behind schedule. We're supposed to wrap up the session by 2:30, and this is 2:38. But for the person that asked about the resource vault, we have courses, we have books on the resource vault that you could also check. We have how to win people over without being pushy. We have becoming a person of influence, leading without a title. We also have, personal and career growth, and there's one other one on influencing. So you could check out. So when you go to our website, you would see our solutions, and under our solution, we have the resource vault, and under the resource vault, we have this books, and they ranges between 5,500 to 6,500. And with your 30% discount, you'll be paying less. So you could go there to check for that. Also, please let's not forget that you have to fill the feedback form because it would give you access to your certificate. And when you have your certificate, you could go online, share it across. I mean, this is our way of giving back to. Okay, sorry, can someone confirm if you can hear me?
Yes,
Uh,
please. We can hear you.
okay,
You're audible.
this is our way of giving back to the community. So please, when you get your certificates, go online, post it, and tag Krista. You could also tag our facilitator as well. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. But I have one. Okay, so how do I get my 50% discount? Please join the Knowledge Hub. When you do, you'll see my name, Adiboye Ademide, on the group. I'm one of the people in the group, one of the admin rather, on the group, and then you can reach out to me, favor. Someone also asked that will you be getting the recording? Yes, you would have access to the recording, but that's everything is tied to the feedback form. So when you fill the feedback form, you have access to the recording and then your certificate. So when we upload the recording, you get a notification and then you can definitely rewatch. Okay, I think that's all that we have for now. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you. It's been a wonderful, session, and I'm so happy that we get to tick off 2026 with an amazing session. Thank you, everyone. And like I usually do, I would like to make a shout out to everyone that has participated. I'm trying to get our names. Okay. So I can see Abiola, I see Susie, Ambrose, Bumi, Favor, Henry, Ibrahim, Jessica, Kende, Mariam, Balaji. Some people, okay, you don't have your name. Inena, Kayode, Olorunda. shout out to everyone. Okay, I might not be able to go over everyone, but shout out to you for joining and thank you for a wonderful session. And before we go, let's say thank you to Tosin in the chat box and with our emojis. Please explain the feedback form. Okay. Let me quickly do that. There's a feedback form in the chat box. When you fill the feedback form, it gives you access to your certificate and also the recordings when we upload it. Okay, you should have the feedback forms now. So the access to the resource vault is there, the feedback form, and also the knowledge of. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Please, a round of applause for our facilitator. We can use our emojis. Let's have, a pop of emojis right now. Exactly. Is that how you're feeling? Thank you, everyone, and thank you so much, Tosin. It's been a wonderful time learning with you. People are they're sending in their prayers. Thank you. Before I end the session, I want to be sure that everyone has seen the link before we end this session. How can I fill the feedback form? Or someone is still asking. Well, if it's asking for login, it means that you did not log in, you didn't register on the website somehow. Because if you do, you have access to it. It will not be asking you for how can I get feedback? Please, the feedback form is in the chat box. I see that people keep asking the question.
You could also just use your QR code to scan the QR code, and it takes you straight to feedback.
So do we get that? You can either scan the feedback, the QR code, scan the QR code, oh, great, or use the link in the chat box. Okay, I want to assume that we all have figured that out so we can end the session. Okay, thank you everyone once again. And it was such a delight to host this session. And I'm sure that we all have learned something today about communication, and we're going to be putting that to practice. Our next webinar is coming up next month, and it would be in the beginning of the month. So please stay glued to our social media platforms where you get to see when our next webinar is coming up, so you could register and join and have a great session just like we've had today. Thank you, everyone.